Right, so in this video I'm going to show you guys how to connect up your Xamarin.Forms application to Microsoft Visual Studio AppCenter. Right, so the website you need to go to connect this is appcenter.ms. Right, and firstly open up your Visual Studio. I've just created like a blank Xamarin app with this basic one-page layout. Okay, and I've only got Android in here, not iOS. So it's a very basic app with a button, and if you click the button it will go to this event. So essentially we are going to connect AppCenter up, and that will allow us to track some analytics on how people are using our application, as well as getting some information when our application crashes and so forth. Right, so have your Xamarin application ready, and then sign in or create an account with AppCenter. Okay, so just click on Start Free, and then you can create your free account over here. Now I've already got an account, so I'm just gonna sign in with my Google. Alright, so yeah, you can see this is the AppCenter dashboard, and I've already got one app here. But to add a new app, you just click over here on top and add new app. Right, and the name of our app, I just called it app 2, so I'm gonna call it app 2 again. You can upload an icon if you want, and I'm just gonna select alpha release. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of different options. AppCenter isn't only for Xamarin apps or Microsoft based apps even. You can actually connect any app to it, even if it's a totally native Objective-C or Swift iOS app, or if it is a Java or Kotlin app, you can connect it. You can connect up your Unity games if you've written or you're writing some Unity games, Cordova. We're just going to do Xamarin in this instance, and we're just doing a Xamarin Android app. Okay, so I'm selecting Android, and in this case Xamarin. Alright, so let's click add new app. So this will create the app for us, and on this overview page is a nice explanation here of how you can add this to your Xamarin application. Now this Xamarin, because we selected Android, this is a Xamarin.Android. This is the guide for Xamarin.Android. But we're not going to do that just Xamarin.Android. We're going to use Xamarin.Forms in this one. So click on Xamarin.Forms, and it gives you the steps here that you need to follow to add this to your application. Right, so the first thing we need to do is to install some NuGet packages. Alright, so I'm on Windows. If you're on Windows, install the Microsoft AppCenter.Analytics and the Microsoft AppCenter.Crashes packages. So let's go ahead to Visual Studio and do that. Okay, we're just going to go to Project, Manage NuGet Packages, and obviously you can do this using the Package Manager console as well. But I'm just going to search it here, so just search for AppCenter and those packages should show up. So I'm first going to install the Microsoft.AppCenter.Analytics. Install. Right, okay. I accept. Right, you'll see that it's busy installing. What I'm gonna install next is the Microsoft.AppCenter.Crashes. So let's just install that one as well. As you can see, obviously there's a green button there if you installed it successfully. Right, so they should now both be installed. Let's see. Yeah, they're both over here, which is good. Alright, let's go to application and have a look at the next step here. Yeah, over here. Right, so the next step is we need to start the SDK. Alright, so in our app.xaml.cs we should firstly add these usings at the top. Okay, so let's open our app.xaml.cs, add the usings at the top. Oh. Right, and then in our onStart we should add the code. Okay, let's just go there. In our onStart method we add the following code. Now, as you can see, if you have like a Android app, a UWP app and an iOS app, you only need to add this piece of code once and then just add these app secrets from the App Center in here. But in the App Center you will have to make 3 different apps, one for Android, one for iOS and one for UWP, because as you can see an app can only have like one OS, so in this case it is Android. Okay, so if you have a multi-platform app or multi-OS app, then yeah, you need to create 2 or 3 of these applications, but you only need this code once, so you can just add that code in there. But now we only have an Android one, so I'm just going to copy that code. You can also click this button, okay, and add it in the onStart button. Okay, if you want to you can remove that, but let's just leave it as it is for now. Okay, so that's all done. Let's have a look at the next step. Alright, so now we just need to build and launch our application. Okay. So it will show some analytics, and once your app crashes, it will actually show the crash data there. But what we're going to do is on that button click, we're going to create a example crash, like a test crash, to see if it comes through on the emulator. Right, so this is how we connect it, and the main 2 things we're going to look at today is just the analytics. So that means when we start our application and a lot of people is using it, it will pull through all of the information of the different devices and where the people are that's using the application. It will pull it through to the analytics to show you the usage of the application. Right, so to start that, let's just run our application. Right, let's wait for the emulator to load. Okay, so our application is now running and it should show up in the analytics. Now, I have to tell you guys that sometimes it takes a while for the analytics to pick up that there's actually an application. There's a kind of a delay, sometimes like 1 to 10 minutes. So just be patient and hold out for it. Yeah. Alright, so as you can see, it's just now shown up the first time, and I actually just refreshed the page and that showed like it's running now. Okay, so what you'll see is that there's one active user, right, and it just showed up there on the 26th, which is today. It showed that the device we're using is an emulator, and it shows the OS distribution is version 28, right? So that's a version of Android that the emulator is using. It shows from which country. Now keep in mind, in this emulator you can actually go and set the country in the settings. So if you change it over here, you can set the location here. It's set to Palo Alto. So if you change it here, it will show up differently in your App Center. Okay, so it's taking the approximate GPS location of the phone. Okay. And right, it shows the active users. So this is how you can test it. Once you launch your app on the Play Store or the App Store, obviously thousands of users going to download your app if you're lucky. Yeah, maybe just a few, but it will then show up here who's downloaded your app, like which devices are they using, and from where in the world they are. So that makes it easier to kind of get an idea of who's your user base and how are they using your app and when are they using your app. Alright, you can also track events in the analytics. So if you go over here, you'll see that you can just add that line of code and that will track an event. Alright, so let's do that on the button click. Okay, so over here we've got the click me button, and in the button click event here, I'm just going to add one line over there, and let's just stop this. Let's say click me button was clicked. Okay, save that. Let's run that again. Okay, that's not gonna work obviously because we didn't add the App Center references up here. Okay, so we can quickly do that. Like I always say, there's a shortcut. If you don't know that already, you can just hover on the red underlined package or library and just press Control and space together on your keyboard, and that will actually suggest which library should be added, which doesn't work now for some reason. Okay, but what we need to do is add the using same as these ones, those three. Let's just copy it from there. Okay, now you can see it's blue, so that's all good. Right, let's run it now, and if we click that button, it should track that event. So this is a nice thing to use if you've got different layers or different pages in your application, or there's a specific roadmap that people need to follow. You can add this event everywhere over those or over your application, and that will give you an idea of how people are using your app, to which pages are they going, you know, what's kind of the sequence in which they go through your application, which features aren't they using at all, and then you can kind of say, okay, let's focus more on this feature, that optimizing the feature that they are using more frequently than using optimizing a feature that nobody uses. So that's kind of good information to get. Alright, so let's do the click me. I've just clicked it. And you know what? I think what we should actually do is let's just show an alert so that when there's something happens, right. Let's run this again. Okay, so let's just click it and that shows, okay, our button was clicked. Clicked it twice. Alright, so let's go back to our analytics dashboard and see if any events are showing up. Again, sometimes it takes a while for the events to show up. Yeah, so you'll see over here, that's still good. Okay, let's just wait for it a little bit. Yeah, so as you can see, I refreshed and it now shows, okay, click me button was clicked. Alright, and I clicked it 6 times. Right, and it was clicked by one user. So if you go to Logflow, you'll actually be able to see the events happening in real time. So as you click it on the phone, it will show up in here. Yeah, and that's the analytics. So you can even go into that specific event and it will show you kind of more detailed information over a timeline about what happened. Alright, and that's the analytics part. So the next part that we want to do is the diagnostics, and what that basically is to track the crashes that happens in your application, right? So if your application crashes, it will pick it up here, tell you when did it crash, kind of what was the device it crashed on, and it will give you a stack trace. So to test a crash, we can just call this one line of code. Okay, I'm just gonna go back and add a new button, and I'm gonna call that button crash. Right, and let's add a new event there. Okay, and let's copy that piece of code into our event. Oh, we only want to do the crash one time. Also gonna show an alert. Crash button was clicked. Okay, I'm just gonna stop it and then restart it. So when we click the crash button now, it should emulate a application crash and log it in our diagnostics on AppCenter. Right, let's click the crash button. And there the application crashed, as you can see. Right, and it gives an exception on the crash and it was a test crash. So I'm just gonna click continue there. and continue again. Okay, and as you can see, the application stopped on the emulator. So this crash should now show up under our issues. Okay, again, sometimes it takes a while to pick it up. Okay, so while we wait, I think we can just implement the try catch. So we can do a try catch and still track the exception, but the application won't break. So if something goes wrong in your application, you can encapsulate that in a try catch, and it will catch that exception but won't break your application. But you can still track that error. Okay. Right, so I'm just gonna copy this piece of code. Let's do a simple try catch. In our Visual Studio. So I'm going to move that in here. And let's just comment that part out. Let's just try to pass something to an int that we can't pass. So like 123a. Okay, so when we click this button, this will create a crash. We'll catch it and then we'll track the error. Alright. And once we done that, let's display an alert that said we caught the error. Error caught. Okay, let's try this again. And we're gonna track the error using the exception that happened. Alright. Okay, so let's do crash, and it caught the error and it tracked the error, and now it displays an alert. Alright. Let's see if we can pick up the error that was under issues now. Right, again I just waited a few minutes. It takes about a minute or two to pick it up. And refreshed it, and now you can see it showing us the issues. Right, so this crash is the first issue where we actually crashed the app. So something went horribly wrong and we crashed the app. And that's displayed as a red one. And the crash that we handled, like the error that we handled, is only an error. We only tracked an error over the year. This is we're tracking an error. Right, and that just shows then as an error up here. So again, you've got the timeline where it shows you the amount of crashes each day. And if you want to see more detail about the crashes, it will actually group them here. So all the similar ones together. And you can go into here. Let's go into the error one, and it will give you more information like the stack trace of what went wrong. So in this case, you can see that it was the int pass that failed. It couldn't pass that string of ours to a number, and then it crashed. Okay. Right, so you can see kind of how many users were affected, like how many percent of the users that's using the app was affected. Most affected devices, it will show you that. And it will even show you kind of what version of the app and so forth. Okay, so here it shows you the specific devices that experience this issue, and this is very useful because then you can go back and fix that issue device specific. Think about Android applications specifically. There's like hundreds of different Android devices on different Android versions out there, and sometimes only some of these devices will crash your application, and then you need to do that fix for that specific device, and you can go and test on that specific device. Now you can actually go and run tests in AppCenter on specific devices by setting up different test devices over here, but that is actually a paid feature of AppCenter. But you can go on and you can go and set up different sets of devices. So if you know your application only crash on a specific device with a specific version of Android, you can go and you can select that device in here or a group of devices and create a new device set. Right. And then you can go and do test runs of your application on that device. Yeah, and that's basically what AppCenter does. AppCenter can also build your application for you and get it ready for deployment, but we won't go into that today. Alright.